The radio crackled just past midnight, slicing through the silence inside Patrol Unit 47. Officer Daniel Mercer adjusted his grip on the steering wheel, eyes locked on the fog-drenched stretch of County Road 19. It was the kind of road that swallowed headlights whole. Dispatch reported an abandoned vehicle near the old quarry, a place locals avoided after sundown. Mercer had driven that road countless times, but tonight it felt different, too quiet, too still. Even the crickets had stopped their song. As the cruiser rolled forward, the beam of his headlights caught a lone sedan idling off the shoulder, engine humming softly, doors open, no one inside. He parked behind it, radioing in his location. Unit 47 on scene. Possible 10 to 54, vehicle occupied none. The dispatcher's static reply was faint, as if distance itself was resisting the signal. Mercer stepped out, boots crunching over gravel slick with dew. The air smelled faintly metallic, and the wind carried something else, wet earth mixed with iron. The driver's door hung half open, interior lights dim, radio still on, murmuring the last bars of an old country song. On the passenger seat sat a badge, county issued, but it wasn't one he recognized. The number was filed off, edges scorched. A shiver crawled up his spine as he realized how deliberate it looked. He circled the car, flashlight cutting through mist. Drag marks led from the roadside down the embankment toward the quarry pit, deep enough to belong to a grown man. His first instinct screamed caution, but training pushed him forward. He called out, "Sheriff's Department. Identify yourself." Only the wind answered. The descent was slick and narrow, the mud soft underfoot, fresh. At the bottom, the quarry pool reflected pale moonlight like glass, perfectly still, unnaturally so. Then, just as he reached the water's edge, something rippled beneath the surface, too wide, too smooth, too quiet for any fish. Mercer froze, pulse thudding in his ears. The beam of his light swept the perimeter, revealing torn fabric snagged on a jagged stone, a dark blue uniform shirt, soaked and shredded. The badge sewn to its chest was unmistakable. It matched the missing officer reported from 2 towns over, Officer J. Halloran, last seen 3 nights ago after responding to a domestic call gone bad. Mercer's throat went dry. He radioed again, static roaring back, the line dead this time. Then came the sound, a deep, dragging scrape echoing behind him. Slowly, he turned, light trembling in his grip. Something had moved between him and the incline. The drag marks were deeper now, fresher, leading back toward his cruiser. Heart hammering, Mercer bolted up the path, lungs burning. Every few steps, the sound followed, the scraping, the wet thud of something heavy being pulled across stone. When he reached the top, his headlights were gone. The cruiser sat in darkness, its hood open, engine silent. Inside the windshield, written in thick streaks of mud, were 3 words, "Leave it be." Mercer froze, staring, the night closing around him like a living thing. Then the radio snapped back to life with a piercing shriek, feedback and faint breathing, shallow, deliberate. Someone whispered his name, not just his last name, his full name, spoken softly, like a memory being repeated. By morning, Mercer filed a full incident report. He left out the whisper, the breathing, the words on the glass, replaced them with procedural notes, terrain details, vehicle condition. His lieutenant, Captain Reeves, raised a brow as he scanned the page. "So you're saying Halloran's cruiser wasn't there, but his badge was?" Mercer nodded. Reeves set the file aside. "You've been working nights too long. Take the rest of the shift off." His tone was firm, but laced with something else, wariness. Mercer caught it, said nothing to A.T. home. The silence was heavier than usual. The house still smelled faintly of his late wife's perfume. She'd been gone 2 years now, cancer stealing her voice before her smile. He poured himself coffee, sat at the table, replaying the sound of that whisper over and over. Halloran's file wasn't public. Mercer shouldn't have known his first name, yet when the voice said it, he'd recognized it instantly. That same afternoon, he drove back out, unofficially. He told himself it was for closure, but deep down, he needed to prove the night hadn't twisted his mind. The quarry looked harmless under daylight. Birds circling, water calm, evidence gone. But when he reached the spot where the sedan had been, fresh tire tracks cut through the mud. He crouched, examining the treads, standard patrol issue, but newer. Someone else had been here since dawn. He followed them for nearly a mile until they stopped abruptly beside a dense cluster of pines. There, buried halfway in loose soil, was a plastic evidence tag marked with the initials JRH. Halloran's. Mercer's skin crawled. That evening, he returned to the precinct, intending to check the archive. But the Halloran file had vanished. The clerk swore no such record existed, no missing officer by that name. Mercer argued, voice rising, until Reeves appeared again, calm but stern. Go home, Mercer. That case isn't yours. Then, as he turned to leave, Mercer caught a glimpse of a folder tucked under Reeves's arm. On its spine, handwritten in red ink, Halloran closed. He didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house felt like movement. Just after 2 a.m., his landline rang once, then again. On the third ring, he answered. Static hissed, followed by a hollow voice. You shouldn't have gone back. Then the line clicked dead. Through the window, across the dark street, he saw the shape of a parked car. Its headlights flashed once, twice, then disappeared. The next day, Matthew couldn't shake what happened. He tried to convince himself it was exhaustion, a trick of the rain. But that night, as thunder cracked again, his phone buzzed. An unknown number sent a text. Pick me up again? His blood froze. He deleted the message, threw the phone aside, and went to the window. Across the street, through the blur of the downpour, he saw a house he didn't remember seeing before. Its porch light glowed a sickly yellow, and behind the rain-streaked glass, a shadow moved. He couldn't stop staring. Something about the shape in the window seemed familiar, tall, still, and eerily patient. A faint tapping began on his back door. 3 knocks, then silence. He grabbed a flashlight and forced himself to check. The door swung open slightly, rain spraying across the tiles. No one was there. Just footprints, again barefoot, leading away into the storm, toward the house with the yellow light. Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Matthew crossed the street. The wind howled, the rain stung his face, and the air carried a metallic taste. The house seemed older up close, its paint peeling, porch steps warped. Yet the light was on, steady and warm. He knocked once. The door creaked open on its own. Inside smelled of damp wood and something rotting. Hello, he called out. No answer. Each step deeper into the house felt heavier. The walls were lined with photographs, all showing the same man, the stranger from last night, standing beside different people, always outside in the rain. In the last frame, the stranger stood alone, his face a hollow blur, and the caption beneath read, Taken the night, they stopped. A sudden crack of thunder made Matthew spin around, and there he was again, standing at the end of the hall, water dripping from his hair, eyes dark and hollow. You stopped for me, he whispered. Now it's your turn to wait. The light flickered out. Everything went black. Trapped in the evidence basement, Mercer's pulse quickened. He pounded the metal door, shouting for backup, but no one answered. His radio was dead. The hum of fluorescent lights overhead deepened, morphing into a low, droning vibration. Then he saw it. The silhouette of a man at the end of the hallway, back turned, shoulders hunched. Hello, Mercer called, voice shaking. The figure didn't move as he advanced slowly, flashlight trembling in his grasp. As the beam reached the far wall, the man dissolved into the darkness, leaving behind wet footprints leading toward the ventilation grate. Each print glistened faintly, reflecting the beam like oil on water. When Mercer crouched to inspect them, the vent rattled violently, echoing through the chamber. He stumbled back just as a distorted voice crackled from the old cassette recorder again. It's awake. The lights blinked out entirely. The only sound was Mercer's ragged breathing. Then, a whisper. Close. Too close. You opened it. His flashlight sputtered once, then died. In the pitch black, something brushed past his leg, cold and deliberate. He fired his sidearm blindly, the explosion deafening. Sparks from the muzzle illuminated the outline of a uniform. Halloran's uniform, floating midair, empty, soaked through. When the backup team finally forced the basement door open, Mercer was alone. His sidearm lay smoking on the floor, 3 casings beside it. No blood, no body, no footprints. Reeves suspended him immediately, citing psychological evaluation. But the captain's voice trembled as he signed the paperwork. "You should have never gone down there," he muttered. "Some cases never die." Rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the roof of Mercer's truck as he crossed the narrow bridge spanning the Blackwood River. The county had suspended him pending evaluation, but that hadn't stopped him. He couldn't sleep, couldn't think of anything but the quarry, the whispers, the old tape. The roads shimmered under the downpour, headlights carving a narrow path through darkness. He replayed the recording in his mind. Halloran's voice, desperate, warning, terrified. The sound had changed something inside him. It wasn't curiosity anymore. It was compulsion. Halfway across the bridge, his truck radio came alive without warning. Static first, then faint murmuring beneath the interference. Words bled through, low and uneven. "He's coming home." Mercer slammed the brakes, heart hammering. The voice wasn't Halloran's. It was Reeves. The signal vanished as quickly as it came. He grabbed the mic, tried to call dispatch, but every channel hissed dead. Through the fogged windshield, a shape appeared at the far end of the bridge, tall, motionless, haloed in rain. He blinked, and it was gone. On the opposite bank, the trees pressed in tight, their wet trunks gleaming. Mercer followed the dirt path toward the river's bend, flashlight trembling. There, half buried in mud, lay a weathered patrol cap embroidered with the number 19B. Inside its brim, faded letters spelled Halloran. Beneath it, the earth pulsed faintly, as if something beneath was breathing. The sound grew louder the closer he stepped, until the ground shifted slightly under his boots. Then the soil split, releasing a surge of icy water mixed with something darker, thick, metallic, reeking of rot. Mercer stumbled back, gagging, just as a figure surfaced in the torrent. Uniformed, face obscured by sludge, lips moving without sound. For one unbearable moment, he thought he saw his own features beneath the grime. Then lightning struck nearby, blinding him in white. When his vision cleared, the river was calm again, no sign of movement, no trace of the cap. Only his reflection stared back, rippling across the current. Eyes hollowed, he returned to his truck soaked, shaken, and silent. The wipers beat steadily, but his mind raced. Reeves's voice, the cap, the ground breathing, all pieces of something vast and hidden. On the passenger seat, the cassette player from the evidence locker sat untouched. He turned it over in his hands, thumb tracing the edge. Written faintly beneath the warning label were 3 new words, etched into the plastic. "He remembers you." Mercer's next stop was Reeves's house on Cedar Lane. The captain hadn't reported for duty in 2 days, and his phone went straight to voicemail. The porch light burned dimly against the fog. Mercer climbed the steps, knocked once, then again. No answer. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air was cold, stale with the scent of mildew and something faintly chemical. Every curtain was drawn, the living room cluttered with old case files, photographs, and maps pinned with red thread. Reeves had been investigating the same thing. Quietly, obsessively, he moved deeper into the house, careful, eyes scanning. On the dining table sat a half-finished report marked "The Quiet Mile, Re-examination." The pages described a 1999 incident for deputies sent to investigate multiple disappearances near the quarry. Only Reeves returned. The others were declared lost after a landslide collapsed the site. The official record claimed their bodies were unrecoverable. But Reeves's notes told a different story. Mentions of voices, mimicry, and shadows that wore the badge. A crash came from upstairs, shattering the stillness. Mercer drew his weapon, crept toward the staircase. The air thickened, charged, humming faintly with the same low frequency he'd heard on the tapes. Each step groaned underfoot. In the hall above, a door stood ajar, faint light spilling from within. He pushed it open and froze. Reeves sat on the edge of the bed, eyes glassy, lips moving without sound. His skin was pale, cold, slick with condensation. Around him, the walls were covered in photographs, faces of every officer who had gone missing in the last 20 years. Each photo had been scratched through except one, Mercer's. Reeves blinked slowly, finally speaking. "I told you to leave it." His voice was layered, distorted, like multiple tones blending through a radio. Mercer stepped closer, lowering the gun. "What is it, Captain?" Reeves's eyes rolled upward, whites showing. "It listens through the calls," he rasped. "Every time we answer, it learns." It wears us until there's nothing left. Then his head tilted sharply to the side, as if pulled by invisible hands. A wet snap echoed through the room. Reeves went limp. Mercer stumbled back, horror rising. As he turned, the radio on the bedside table flared to life, his own voice spilling through it, whispering the same phrase Reeves had spoken moments before. It listens through the calls. The precinct was nearly empty when Mercer returned. The few officers on duty avoided his gaze. Word of Reeves's death had spread quickly. Heart attack, they said, though no one dared question it. Mercer barricaded himself in the records office, spreading the captain's documents across the floor. Patterns emerged, frequencies logged during calls, dates corresponding to new disappearances, all tied to a single transmission frequency, 144.19. The same one used by Unit 19, that he powered on the department's old receiver, tuned it to that channel. Static filled the air, soft at first, then rhythmic, pulsing like a heartbeat. Beneath it, faint whispers formed words. "Mercer," they said, "return what you found." His stomach turned. "Who are you?" he demanded. No reply. Then, through the noise, came the sound of water dripping, followed by a single gunshot. Silence. The lights flickered. A shadow moved across the far wall, his own shape, but lagging, delayed, repeating movements seconds after he made them. He froze, watching as the shadow raised its hand to its mouth and whispered something. His radio answered in perfect sync, though he hadn't touched it. "Come home." The voice was his own. Mercer slammed the receiver off, yanked the cords free, breathing hard. But the whisper persisted even without power, seeping from the vents, the walls, the floor. Every sound in the room began to carry echoes that didn't belong. He fled into the hallway, the building's hum following him like a living pulse. On the bulletin board by the exit hung a new missing persons flyer, printed that morning. The name stopped him cold. Daniel Mercer, last seen 11/12/25. Mercer drove without lights, without radio, following instinct more than memory. The road to the quarry wound through fog like a vein, slick and narrow. By the time he arrived, dawn was breaking, washing the stone cliffs in cold gray. The air carried a deep vibration, like the world itself was breathing. At the edge of the pit, the ground was still damp where the collapse had happened decades earlier. He could see the faint outline of old equipment buried beneath the soil, rusted helmets, broken lights, and a sign reading, "Restricted Zone, County Property." He descended slowly, boots sinking in soft mud. The water below reflected the sky, calm, mirror-like. He took out Reeves's recorder, pressed play. The voice on the tape whispered, "To end it, we must return what we took." He scanned the shoreline and saw it then, an old badge half buried in silt, identical to Halloran's, the same scorched edges. He lifted it carefully. The water rippled outward in perfect circles that a figure rose from the reflection, taking shape as it climbed from the surface. Tall, uniformed, its face hidden by a veil of dripping hair. Halloran's voice issued from its mouth. "You heard it too, didn't you?" Mercer stepped back, weapon raised. "What are you?" The thing tilted its head. A call unanswered. It moved closer, each step soundless. "We answered when no one else would. Now it answers through us." Mercer fired once, then twice. The bullets passed through, disturbing only the air. The figure smiled, teeth glinting through the darkness. "You can't kill a signal, Daniel." The sound of static rose around him, deafening, until the world dissolved into white noise. When he opened his eyes, he was in his cruiser, parked on the quarry's edge. The sun had fully risen, birds calling somewhere far off. For a moment, he thought he'd dreamt everything. Then he saw the radio, powered on, though the ignition was off. The display blinked 144.19 again and again. His voice came through the speaker, distorted, repeating the same sentence over and over. All calls answered. All souls counted. He reached for the mic, but his hand passed through it like mist. Panic surged. He looked at his reflection in the rearview mirror and saw nothing. No face, no features, only static swirling where his eyes should have been. The cruiser door creaked open on its own, and a second badge clattered onto the passenger seat. Reeves's. The radio crackled softly, almost gentle now. "You did what we couldn't," it said. "You became the frequency." Mercer screamed, but no sound came out. His body flickered, fading in rhythm with the static. The last thing he felt was the cold touch of rain, and then nothing at all. Weeks later, county crews discovered an abandoned cruiser at the quarry's entrance. The engine was dry, the seats covered in fine dust, as if untouched for years. Inside, the radio emitted faint static, looping endlessly. The badge on the dashboard read, Officer D. Mercer, though the serial number didn't match any current records. The department archived it under Equipment Anomaly. Case closed without explanation. New officers occasionally reported strange interference on their radios, soft breathing between transmissions, whispers repeating their names. Some swore they heard an older voice among them, calm and steady, giving quiet instructions. Dispatch brushed it off as interference from nearby towers. But veterans knew better. They called it the Quiet Mile. Every year, another cruiser vanished along County Road 19. Every time, the last transmission was the same. All calls answered. All souls counted.